Okay, the hype is real, Planet Coaster 2 has just been announced. I talked to you in 2 other videos already about everything that we know, but we also have to talk about what we don't know. So in this video, obviously, we're going to tackle exactly these things, like, for example, weather. We haven't seen weather. The actual way how pathing does work, because we haven't seen pathing. We haven't seen the coaster builder. We haven't seen any facilities apart from those you've been seeing also in the trailer and the very obvious ones. We haven't seen anything like vending machines. We haven't seen the boxless counters. We haven't seen so many things, and I want to cover these in this video. But just to give you a bit of a context, if you haven't seen the other 2 videos that I have made, why haven't you? But I was invited to an exclusive first look a couple weeks ago of Planet Coaster 2, and we actually saw a demo on PlayStation or Xbox, I cannot say, but it's like on a console. And it has been 25-ish minutes of gameplay in the very park you're seeing in the background in the trailer. The park was in a bit of a different state. I assume that either in the scenario or the demo has been built further after the demo has been shown to us. I don't know exactly, but there were a couple of different rides in, so I can confirm that there are even more rides already in the game than you see in the trailer or screenshots. There were like a couple of different rides from the old game, Planet Coaster 1, that we already knew they were already in. There are tons of other slides. It's kind of crazy. You only saw a couple slides, but they're like, I think if I counted correctly, there are 8 or even 9 different types of slides, and then obviously in various ways. But anyways, I didn't want to talk about what we do know. Let's quickly talk about those things that we're missing. And I want to start particularly with the first one is weather, because I feel like this is a simple one. We haven't seen that in any screenshot. We haven't seen this in any of the footage, and we haven't seen it in demo. However, what I have seen, and this is why I'm very calm and relaxed with this one, there has been the weather icon that we know from Planet Zoo as well, and it has been next to the time of day icon, so with the little moon and stars, which obviously is, for the time of day. And then next to it, there was like a sun and a cloud, and even with some light rain sprinkles or something like an icon. I'm entirely sure that this was in. They have always very carefully avoided to click on that, and they moved through the menu in a different direction. It's kind of funny though. I noticed one specific time where they had been on the timer, and one click to the right, or actually 2 clicks to the right, would have brought them to the menu they wanted to go for, but they went all the way to the left, across the whole screen, back to the other side, just to avoid clicking on the weather. So, it's a given. It's definitely in. But that's where it ends. That's where it ends to be positive, or actually not positive, but neither positive nor negative. The rest I'm talking about right now is kind of on the split side. So I do assume that many of the things I will talk about will be in-game. However, it's not confirmed. And I also want to say that during the demo, they very intentionally try to avoid certain regions of the park. Even though we have some crazy overviews in the screenshots, they are also taken exactly the same way as the demo was. Like every time the hotel area is in the far back, so you can't really zoom in and see a lot of things. Every time in the demo, as soon as they watched, or as they looked over towards the hotels, they took the camera away and looked into a different direction. So maybe we are going to look at some hotels over there, some restaurants, but in fact, we don't know. We have no confirmation if they're in or not. What we also have no confirmation of is if there is anything from the old game, like, for example, Fast Pass. I'm pretty sure that there is a new single rider lane in, because I've seen 3 entrance points to the coaster, of which one is definitely the exit, and 2 were definitely entrances because of the way where they were put. And there is even a screenshot among the screenshots we have where there are 2 entrances to the queue. So there is definitely a single rider in here, which is kind of cool, but we haven't seen Fast Pass in action. We also, and this is something I wanted to talk a bit longer about, is we haven't seen the coaster builder in action. We have seen the coaster, and they did say that the coaster builder is being revamped, and they do have a lot of new smoothing options, as they said. But we didn't see that one. We didn't see anything of this in action. We didn't see how it is, if it's still the same kind of piece by piece builder as it is, or if it's now node based. They've not talked about this, I'm relatively sure that this is not node based, because that would have been such a big change. They would have potentially talked about this a bit more, but they emphasized on the point that there is more about this. Well, yeah, but this leaves me with a bit of the overall feeling. Now, they have showed us a lot of details, you know, for builders and creators. That is amazing, and obviously creators have been the target audience for the demo. But what we are lacking is a lot of the game itself, and I really do hope that this is an intentional choice to not talk about that right now, and hopefully show a lot of this later. I really hope that I have tackled some of the biggest weaknesses of the first game, and this is a lot of things about the management. We also haven't seen how the daytime season management is going. We don't even know if there are seasons in the game. We don't know if the biomes we are in. We do know that the biome this park was set in is a bit more tropical biome, because it also fits to the theme that is in game, but we have no idea if there will be different biomes with different weathers, and if rain is actually impacting the game. See, the point is, we are so obviously talking about rain because we knew it, or we know it now from Planet Zoo for so many years, but we also know that rain has an impact in Planet Zoo. But it definitely is a completely different situation, simply because rain and animals and searching for shelter and so on makes a lot of sense. But as Planet Zoo failed on delivering with actual seasons, this could be a thing in here too. So we could see the same issue as we faced in Planet Zoo, having like a tropical region, and then all of a sudden there is like snow in August or whatnot. Well, it's not that dramatic, but it has been that in temperate regions we did have snow in July, for example, which is super off. You know, you can still debate about the fact that snow has an impact, but the question is, how would it impact the coaster? How does it look? Does the coaster have a runtime, downtime then? Do we know anything about this? Do we know about, for example, switch tracks? We've not heard anything about new elements of coasters. There's also no evidence in the footage or anywhere else. I tried my best to think of it and try to focus during the demo. Didn't see anything. Sylph didn't see anything either, so I've talked to him. Lady didn't either. Oh, by the way, if you're listening to this now, you may already have listened to a podcast of Sylph, Lady, and I, where we do ramble about a lot of other things as well, what our different opinions are on that. So if you're interested in this, there's a video on Lady's channel right now of a podcast of the old Koali crew. Just a little plug over here. But yeah, just saying that we don't know anything about this. And again, this leaves me with the fact that there is a ton of new things, and I do feel like the foundation is incredible. But we have to, it's also my job to be realistic, and I'm very happy that Sylph and Lady took me down on my hype lane a little bit, so that I focus and refocus on what we are missing, and it's quite a lot, to be honest, frankly. Again, we also do not know if there's any new impact given from either hotels, restaurants, whether they're actually in the game or not, but do they have a bigger impact? Because granted, the hotel edition was a good one in Planet Coaster 1, but at the end of the day, they didn't really add anything to the game apart from being a new spawner, to be honest. So it's not like that people spend a longer time in your park, and being a resort, for example, you need a hotel because one day they spend their money on the theme park, like with coasters, and the other part of their journey they go into the water park. So not sure if you can build two entrance areas, for example, that you have those two parks separately and you have an in-between area of the park, because now that would be an interesting option. But we don't know anything about this. We don't know if there is an entrance option like we had in Planet Coaster 1. We can assume it because it's been a thing in Planet Zoo and in Planet Coaster. It wouldn't make sense to take it out, but I want to remind you guys of the fact that they actually did take out a couple of things off Planet Coaster when they released Planet Zoo, just to bring these things back in with the updates. And they still need to keep certain things for free updates to kind of make this a thing. I just hope that they can't get away with it so easily this time around, because Planet Coaster 2 is a direct successor to Planet Coaster 1. So at least give us everything we had in Planet Coaster 1, okay? So speaking of screens, billboards, speaking of vending machines, speaking of these tiny little play machines that we had, it's not like Midway games, but these little, I forgot what it was, the claw kind of game and stuff like that. Like these mini things would be amazing. We also didn't know about anything else they have been adding during the time. As I said, restaurants, and then the question is, how did they do restaurants? We had a restaurant in Planet Coaster, but that was definitely a different realization as in Planet Zoo. And I love the one from Planet Zoo. The same goes for souvenir shops we've just received in the last update. So, 2 updates ago, whatever. So is the souvenir shop in. So there is so much we don't know yet. It's way too early to say how big of a success this is going to be. From the addition of the water park, obviously, and from the addition of shade as a management element, we can at least say that there is a huge part that the community asked for so long already in. So if they deliver on the normal Planet Coaster part, and you know, I'm fine with taking out a couple of flat rides, maybe taking out 1 or 2 coasters and add them in later because you have to kind of build upon that game. I totally get that, you know, but obviously with the water parks, you have a new option to bring in new content, so there is not that easy of an excuse to not have that much content in. I feel like it's like there's a lot of time until fall, you know, there are a couple of months going into, so they need to have something to communicate. So if they would have shown everything right now, that would be kind of pointless from a marketing perspective. So I really hope that they focus now on the building part, and in the next coming releases of content that you will definitely see on this channel. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel as of now, do it now, because you will be seeing everything in here. You know, I'm very close to Frontier, so if there's anything they share, I will have it and I will give this to you guys, promised. But again, I will always try to take a very honest and transparent approach on that, just as we are discussing now the things that are missing and that I'm kind of fearing as well. See, I see there is so much new stuff in that they have focused on that I'm also fearing that at least, for example, switch tracks and so on won't be a thing. I really feel like they have focused on bringing maybe in the single rider lane. They have focused a lot of making the coaster smoother because that's been something that people have been wanting to. They have focused on the coaster trains being editable, which is a great thing. But I haven't shown anything like, for example, ride photos is not a thing, you know. Well, maybe it isn't, maybe it is, but we don't know about. But this would be a kind of an impactful thing because you can sell these photos then. They have not talked about anything else about the management, if they've done anything about the balancing. We know that there's a new element in with the power, that now power is available. But as it seemed, as of the integration, it was a very weird integration, like weird in basically as it was in Jurassic World Evolution 1, that you basically have a transformer which gives a certain amount of energy points, and then a coaster, for example, requires 55 energy points, and as soon as you have built a transformer, the transformer gives you 200 energy points, and then you've actually powered your coaster. So it is kind of pointless because, as always, like, as soon as you've got the money, you can spam these things around your coaster park, and then it's done. It's like, we don't really know if there's anything about this that, for example, power generation becomes increasingly expensive the more you build, for example. Like, all these things we don't know and we need to know, because the reason why I didn't really play any scenario on Planet Coaster goes really down to the fact that the scenarios weren't good. And I'm not going to go too deep into that, because if you're interested in a scenario talk, please listen to our podcast at Ladies Channel, because especially Sylv and I gone very crazy on scenarios, because Sylv actually has been the person who has designed a ton of the Parkitect scenarios, which I have to admit are very good ones. And so yeah, that's why. This is very interesting. So I'm going to leave that out in this segment because he has got a lot of very intelligent stuff to say that I can't. But yeah, I really want to focus on these things that are missing from what we know right now. And then we also obviously have to talk about performance. We really don't know how the performance is in this game. And we have seen from releases like City Skylines 2 that performance can actually destroy a game that otherwise has some very good elements. Specifically talking about City Skylines 2, we can assume that if the performance was great, the game wouldn't have failed at all. Simply because the foundation they have given is really good. It's a really solid, great foundation with a lot of good elements. And if you compare that to the first game, it's great, and it looked fantastic. The demo I played last year on Gamescom looked fantastic, but they had to scale it down so dramatically to meet the performance requirements that it now looks barely any better than City Skylines 1 did with mods. So, and this is a dangerous terrain to go for. But honestly, also in that sense, I'm not really that worried, because obviously Frontier's engine, the Cobra engine, has been developed over time. Planet Zoo already looks tons better than Planet Coaster does, and from the screenshots, if you compare them directly to Planet Zoo screenshots, they yet again made a jump forward. It's not as dramatic, to be honest, as the last one was, but I think the detail will be within the game. And honestly, if the leap forward wasn't as big this time around, but hence the performance instead is a huge increase, I take it. Simply because consoles are now a part of the game from the get-go, the performance has to be a lot better, because the current generation of consoles is definitely not great anymore. Because, I mean, it's, you know, don't get me wrong, it's great, but it's nothing compared to modern days computers of most gamers out there. I'm not talking about the average person, but I'm talking about the gamers, and the gamer rigs are all across the board better than PS5 or Xbox X Series. Everyone expects a new console dropping next year with GTA 6, so maybe they have this already in mind and bring it out then again for the new console, who knows. But I have faith in the fact that the performance is at least on par with Planet Zoo, and honestly, I would be very okay with this, considering how I am able to build huge zoos nowadays, and that took me over 3 years to build before the performance really becomes an issue. I'd be very happy with this. And then we also have to talk about how many pieces will be in the game and stuff. We don't know about this, and I really hope that people don't get too mad about this, because honestly I think this is not a decisive factor. I wanted to speak about this briefly in this video because, again, I know that some people are really looking at numbers, and they have, like, if the game doesn't meet, let's say, 75% of the amount of pieces and rides from the first game, people will say it's a scam, it could have been a DLC and blah. I'm really not into that talk, you know. I want the quality of this game to be much better. I want to deliver it on many other areas, and so for me personally, if the piece count is sufficient, I don't care if it's 50% of the last game, 20% or 100%, because it could be 100%, but the pieces are all basically not usable because too big, too weird textures, whatever. If the pieces are usable and we have scaling now, you could easily do great things with only 20% of the amount of the original game. So I'm totally fine with this. But getting back to where we started this video, there are so many things not known at this point that there is, for me personally, this huge bubble, the unknown bubble of management and playability, like gameplay, that has to be filled in with actual confirmation of certain things. And to just bring this video to an end, because I've rambled a lot about the different areas, for me personally, there are a couple of very important boxes to hit by Frontier. And if they hit these boxes, this game is going to be a banger. And let me tell you, and I have to be very precise about this before we go into the checkboxes, I said this with Planet Zoo, and I stay by that. The fact that Planet Zoo still doesn't feature any birds, like actual flying birds, and full aquatic animals, for me personally, is a huge miss and makes the game incomplete. Full stop. As much as I love the game, it's an incomplete game. And if you take this and bring this to, for example, Planet Coaster, already Planet Coaster 1 for me was a complete game. And you can argue it didn't feature water parks, but for me personally, for like a theme park, it is not necessarily important. However, I like it because it is a incredibly big thing in the world, and it's becoming increasingly more popular. So already we are looking at a state of a game that brings in such an incredibly big feature. So I'm already saying it is in a very good state. However, to really become great and a real banger and the successor we all dreamed of, here are my checkboxes that need to be checked. So A, the coaster builder has to be significantly improved, a lot more accessible and easy. Don't meet me with a No Limits 2 builder that is way too complicated and only pro builders can do great stuff with it. I need a very solid coaster builder that is a lot better and a lot smoother from the get-go, out of the box, and then get the pros some tools they can play with, but whatever. Checkbox number 2, a very big overhaul of the whole coaster management. And, you know, I don't care if there is an actual switch track in, but please give us the option to have a kind of guest flow management and bring in a new train whenever it's needed and not have us decide it from the beginning. That would be amazing. Then I need a complete, number 3, a complete overhaul of the management. I need it to be more impactful, and I need to understand what things have an impact on my gameplay. And I want these things to be non-linear. I want these things to become an essence of what you build. You need to think about how many things you plop down. You need to think about where you put your information booth. You need to think about where you put your, let's say, restrooms. And I want this to be impactful. Number 4 on that list definitely is the pathing. The new pathing has to deliver, not only on being more accessible maybe, but also to give us obviously more options than in the previous game. Hitbox number 5, or checkbox number 5, the achievements, I want to call it, from the first game have to be at least 90% met. And what do I mean by that? It's definitely like boxless shops, vending machines, these little kind of games I talked about, the various shops we had, restaurants. Hotels could be out and give us a proper hotel DLC, like a resort DLC. I don't mind this. Like, give it to me, please. So these things are insanely important for me. Weather, I would, let's put weather in because it's not officially confirmed, but let's get it in as a 6th checkbox, even though it is basically confirmed. So we still get that in to be complete. And then if these things are met, I am saying that this is exceeding my expectations. Or did I say performance as a checkbox? I forgot already. But if not performance, a great performance is definitely checkbox. Either it was number 1 or it's now number 7. You decide, whatever. Sorry, I've been preparing all these videos for you guys for so long. I'm done. I'm like I really need to let that all sink in. Get all your comments. Get a bit of a calm moment, let's put it that way, before I can go deeper. And now the wait is on for actual confirmations. However, let's end it here, and I want your opinion. What did you miss from the announcement? What did you miss? What's a one single feature you need to say that's an instant buy? I'm gonna buy this, okay? By the way, speaking of which, I've no idea when this is going to go in sale or whatever, in pre-sale or whatnot. You're going to have to check the channels, by the way, in case you're wondering. I have no idea. Maybe they say this and I'm going to put a info in the info box down below, but I have no idea. However, let me know your opinion and what you are missing from the announcement so far, what you want to see. The number 1 feature, please limit it to 1 so we can see how many people like the other ones, and just go through the comments and like the other ones you like. So push these up so we can have a little discussion about these. Thank you so much as always. I'm gonna be covering everything about Planko 2. There will be 2 little surprises the next coming days on the channel about Planko 2, so keep an eye on the channel if you're interested for that. And yeah, I don't have really that much more to say. Have a wonderful, lovely time. Thank you so much for watching and listening and doing whatever you do. Thank you for the support, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Goodbye.